Welcome back to Flick Summary. Today we'll be diving into a film titled 28 Days Later. Enjoy the recap. Animal rights activists from Britain break into a lab late one night to free chimpanzees being used for medical research. The rage virus subjects are ultimately released by the activists, despite a lab employee's warnings, and they are then attacked and infected by them. In a matter of seconds, the infection seems to spread quickly through its victims, transforming them into uncontrollable monsters. Jim, a bicycle messenger, is treated for work-related injuries and comes out of a coma in a deserted hospital 28 days later. When he leaves the hospital, he finds that London is completely deserted and covered in disaster-related debris. He discovers a church where a sizable crowd is gathered as he wanders the streets, calling out for anyone who might still be present. He finds out right away that they are raving monsters that attack him. The infected people pursue him through the streets before two survivors, Selena and Mark, save him and take him to their underground hideout in London. They use explosive charges attached to gas pumps to conceal their escape. They demonstrate that the virus spread unchecked throughout society while Jim was unconscious, turning the majority of people into vicious killers, referred to as the infected, and causing societal collapse possibly on a global scale. Jim is adamant about visiting his parents. Selena and Mark accompany Jim despite their disagreement with the strategy. He learns that his parents killed themselves. The survivors are attacked by several infected that evening, and when the battle is over, Mark is bleeding from a painful cut on his arm. Jim begs Selena to kill him, but she slashes him to death with a machete, explaining to Jim that the infection overpowers its victims in a matter of seconds, making them lethal to others. The next day, as the two travel through the abandoned city, Selena rules out intimacy with Jim, saying that only the struggle for survival is left. She threatens that if he gets infected, she will kill him in a heartbeat. They go to investigate when they notice Christmas lights blinking in a high-rise tenement. Jim must stop climbing the stairs around halfway because his head is pounding. Selena explains that the sugar in the soda he's been consuming for the past few days is what's causing his crash. They quickly ascend the remaining stairs after hearing the sounds of approaching infected, when a man in riot gear from the police directs them to his apartment while fending off the infected. Hannah, Frank's teenage daughter, and they are sequestered in their apartment. Jim and Selena privately discuss whether they should stay with Frank and Hannah after being invited to stay the night. Jim claims that they seem like good people, but Selena worries that they will slow them down and cautions Jim that prioritizing others over one's own survival is a surefire way to perish. Frank alerts Jim and Selena the following morning that supplies, particularly water, are running low. Despite all the collection containers they've positioned on the tower's roof, it hasn't rained in several weeks. Frank tells Selena and Jim that he and Hannah need their assistance to leave the city, and he also shows them a pre-recorded radio broadcast loop transmitted by soldiers near Manchester, who claim to have the answer to infection. As they ride in Frank's taxi in search of the blockade, the survivors become closer to one another. They exit through a tunnel that is blocked by a jam of vehicles, and one of the cab's tires blows out. They hastily change the tire and dash out when they realize that a horde of infected are approaching. They come across an abandoned store on the other site and stock up. The group spends the night in a rural area. Jim notices that Selena is carrying a small supply of pills. As they prepare to go to bed, she tells Jim she won't give them up, even though she mainly uses them to sleep and manage her anxiety. Jim's journey experiences start to toughen him up, while Selena's stony resolve starts to soften. When Jim visits a roadside rest area with a restaurant, a young boy who is infected attacks him and yells, "I hate you." Jim uses a baseball bat to kill him before leaving bitter and sorry. Frank becomes infected by blood from a corpse that is dripping. When the four arrive at the deserted blockade, knowing he's doomed, he tells Hannah angrily to stay away from him before quickly becoming infected and almost killing her. Soldiers hiding nearby quickly shoot him, seize control of the cab, and transport Selena, Jim, and Hannah to Major Henry West's fortified mansion. Hannah is in shock as Selena and Jim make romantic overtures to one another. Jim learns that West's answer to infection entails letting the infected starve to death, while simultaneously providing hope for the future survival of the community by making the female survivors perform sexual servitude. Jim, Selena, and Hannah try to flee with him after being startled, but the soldiers catch them all, including Sergeant Farrell, who doesn't agree with the Major's plan. Farrell speculates that there is no global epidemic, while Jim and Farrell are detained for the night. The disease engulfs its victims so quickly that it would have been impossible for any infected person to leave the British Isles, prompting the rest of Europe and possibly the rest of the world to place the islands under a strict quarantine. Selena and Hannah are trapped as the soldiers circle, wanting to start raping them, The following day, as two soldiers lead the prisoners into the woods to be executed, Selena requests a brief period of solitude with Hannah to get ready. Hannah is informed by Selena that she will be given one of her sedatives in order to make the experience less traumatic. Selena, who is being held captive by the last uninfected soldier, is horrified when Jim storms into the room covered in blood and brutally murders the soldier, leading Selena to suspect that he might be infected. She prepares to strike with her machete raised, but she hesitates first. He quips, "That was longer than a heartbeat," and they share a passionate kiss. As the group flees to Frank's cab after Hannah spots them, West appears and shoots Jim in the stomach. West is thrown to the infected mailer by Hannah, who then takes control of the cab and flees with Jim and Selena. Jim is rushed into a deserted hospital by Selena and Hannah, where Selena performs life-saving emergency procedures. After an additional 28 days, Jim is seen waking up in recovery once more, this time on one side of a double bed in a remote cottage. When Hannah enters, he discovers Selena sewing broad swaths of fabric downstairs. As an approaching jet flies over, the three sprint outside and spread out a large cloth banner, adding the last letter to the word hello, that has been written out on the meadow. The infected are starving to death in the streets all over the area. Selena asks aloud, "Do you think he saw us this time?" as the jet flies past the three waving survivors and their distress signal. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.